Well, good morning, everyone. A very warm welcome. We're continuing with our interviews of URCNA missionaries. And this morning we have the privilege of having Pastor Ken Anema on with us. Pastor Ken works with Divine Hope Reformed Bible Seminary. I think many of you are familiar with this work, URC work. And Ken's an old friend of mine, was one of the pastors involved with my work in Mexico, and it's a joy to have you on, Ken.
Good to be here. Thank you so much for the invite.
Ken, maybe we could just begin with just a bit of background on Divine Hope. You've been there now about 7 years. You were a pastor for many years in Messiah's Independent Reformed Church. So you have a lot of pastoral ministry. Maybe just talk about that transition from pastoral ministry then to working in the U.S. jail system.
Yeah, I'd served the Messiah's Independent Reformed Church in Holland, Michigan for 20 years. During that time, I would say at least 15 of those years, I'd become involved at the Holland Rescue Mission, which was a homeless shelter. I would go there on Wednesday mornings and give a 15-minute chapel message and then rub shoulders with the men over breakfast. And during that time, I had ended up mentoring a number of men. Some of them joined our local church. I'd also become involved at the local jail as well, giving chapel messages there, and through contacts there, mentored men as well. So when the opportunity came for transitioning to this kind of a ministry, Divine Hope is a prison ministry. It seemed very natural. It seemed like I had a bit of experience with guys who had been in and out of prison, counseled them and understood at least some of the issues that they dealt with. And so, yeah, when the opening came, it just seemed like a very natural fit. The other thing is, when they were looking for a second professor, they were looking for somebody who would teach the Old Testament, and that was a favorite of mine. And they wanted somebody to teach Hebrew. I didn't know Hebrew well, but I did want to improve my abilities in Hebrew, and so I took that as an opportunity to improve in that area.
Maybe you could just describe for us, Ken, a little bit about the work generally with Divine Hope in the jails. What is it specifically that you do? What is it that you teach?
Yeah, the name of our school is called Divine Hope Reformed Bible Seminary, and probably for a lot of our listeners, seminary has the idea of training men for gospel ministry. I think when the seminary first began, that was part of its focus, and but what we found over the years is that a lot of the men don't have the maturity nor the academic ability to learn some of the foreign languages such as Greek and Hebrew. So about 3 or 4 years ago, we shifted our focus away from preparing men for gospel ministry. And what I would describe what we do now is more of an intense discipleship program. It's structured as a school. So where we have our full curriculum, a student can start, and if he completes 9 courses, he gets a beginning certificate. If he completes another 9 courses for a total of 18, he receives an associate certificate. And then if he goes on to complete another 18 for a total of 36 courses, he has the full certificate of Christian studies. We're not an accredited school, so on the outside, academically, it doesn't really mean that much to other schools. But what it does for individuals is it disciples them. And I think at 3 levels. At the most basic level, for somebody who is probably new to the Christian faith or maybe isn't even a Christian, they learn what the basics of the Christian faith are. We teach a course, for instance, called Mere Christianity, which is a 2-part course that goes through the entirety of the Heidelberg Catechism. We also give them an overview of the Old Testament and an overview of the New Testament. And then we also give them basic courses on how to use the Bible for resolving and solving personal problems, personal issues, somewhat related to counseling. And in that sense, it's a discipleship training course for those at the very beginning level. We don't require students to be Christians to be part of our seminary. We've had Muslims, we've had Buddhists, we've had professing Jews be part of it. But we do state up front that we're going to be teaching courses from a Christian perspective. We're teaching the Bible from a historic reform perspective. And as long as they're good with that up front, they're welcome to join us. We're not going to give them a platform to spout off their views and ideas. We welcome good questions where they want to understand and contrast, but we don't allow them a platform. So that's the first level. The second level, I would say, is for those who are already Christians. And this is an opportunity for them to grow and mature in the things of the Lord. It gives them an opportunity to expand their theological understanding. We go through all the 6 main headings of theology: the doctrine of God, the doctrine of man, and so forth. And it gives them a richer understanding of the Bible and how there is a message that connects the entirety of the Bible together. And so it's for personal growth. And then there's a third level in which I think our classes benefit our students, and that is it gives them tools for those who want to go beyond their own personal growth and want to be of benefit to others. We give them tools that help them to serve other people. We emphasize this at the level of the family. A lot of our students are husbands and fathers, and we explain to them how these teachings can help them in being a father, and a mentor and a husband. One man, for example, who had been part of the Chicago Mafia, he's now in his 60s. And when he first started with us, he wasn't academically keen, seemed to have a half-hearted spirit to it, but other guys had encouraged him to get involved, and he did. And after a couple of years, all of a sudden we noticed that the lights seemed to come on. He seemed to be engaging himself even more. And he would tell us that when he would get on the phone with his family, now being in his 60s on his way to 70, he would wait for a time when his children were around and his grandchildren, and they would gather around the phone, and he would read scripture to them. He would pray with them. He would give them instruction about, how to live their lives, and really taking on the role of a godly grandfather. And
Awesome.
I think that's one of the outcomes, and one of the things that we're aiming for, not only the transformation of men's lives, but every one of these men have connections, if not to family, certainly to friends and even other men in the prison, and just to have a leavening effect.
That's really good, Ken. That's something that, question that I've had often from people. How does a seminary function in the U.S. jail system? So I think that's really clear. I had opportunity to be there only once with you, but I just remember seeing all of the different faces and hearing the stories of the different men and their backgrounds and how Christ was changing their lives. And I thought, wow, what a mission field there in the U.S. jails, and I'm so thankful for your work there. Maybe you could talk about a challenge or challenges that you've had. I'm sure you've had lots. Ministry always does. Maybe you could just describe a couple of them for us, one or two.
Yeah, probably one of the challenges from a teaching standpoint is we require our students to have a GED, in other words, a high school diploma equivalency, which means not all of our students can read and write that well. The challenge then becomes, how do you teach a classroom where you have guys who have barely acquired some of the high school or maybe have a grade school level reading, with other guys, some of them have even had some college classes. How do you teach at a balance that kind of connects both of those academically? Yeah. And then you have the same disparity spiritually. Sometimes there are men who are very zealous for the things of the Lord and really want to be very much in the Word and want to make the most of the classroom. And occasionally we'll have some students who are more ambivalent and a bit indifferent. Thankfully, none of our students are required to be in our courses. It's completely voluntary, which means if a student doesn't really show initiative, we'll eventually have a conversation with them to say, do you really want to be part of this? Because you don't have to. There is a way out, and we're not going to shame you for it. But if you would like to be out of our program, we can certainly arrange for that to take place. And if they don't choose to remove themselves and they're being a distraction to the class, we will over time remove them, but not without some gentle persuasion along the way.
Yeah.
Right now, yeah, those are probably some of the main challenges. And of course, you end up with some students who are just very good criminals, and they may be lying to you, putting on a front, who knows? And so sometimes you have guys who are, they know how to talk the talk in class, but we learn from other students that back in the dorms, back in the cell houses, they conduct themselves in a very different way. And so part of the challenge is how do you maintain a Christian testimony when you've got hypocritical students in your program, and therefore give a bad name to the name of the seminary, but more significantly, a bad name to the name of Christ because of their affiliation with us.
Yeah.
And so sometimes helping to clarify that to students who are zealous for the things of the Lord can be a struggle.
Yeah. I know for this time with COVID, you guys haven't been able to be in the jails the whole time. Like everybody else, things have been put on pause. Maybe you could just describe real quickly the forecast, how things are looking for you coming up.
Sure. So we've been locked out for the last 15 months. We just recently got word that we can get started in the Indiana prisons. There are actually 3 prisons in Indiana that we work in. There's a high security prison in Indiana. It's called the Indiana State Prison in Michigan City. There's a second one in Westville, Indiana. It's a medium security prison where guys are there for a much shorter time. And then we also do a little bit in a women's prison further south in Indiana in Rockville. And there we only have a Bible study, and we offer 1 class. That's all they're allowing us to do there at this point in time. Of those 3 prisons in Indiana, there's only 1 that we are actually able to get into. I just started this past Tuesday, July 20, 2021, and that's the first time for 15 months since I've been in. In the meantime, we tried to get some correspondence courses going. At present, the prisons in Indiana allow 1 professor to go to only 1 facility 1 time per week. And to try to spread our influence, since there's only 1 prison available in Indiana, I'm the one that's attending the prison in Indiana at Westville, and I'm going in every Tuesday. I'm teaching 2 2-hour classes. And right now that you talked about challenges, everything is new there. All the students have turned over since we've been there last, because it's only a 12-month program. They have a new director in the program where we were operating, and the chaplain that was there has also been replaced. So everybody is brand new. So last week, Friday, I started with more of an infomercial. I came and gave information about what we did and gave them a sample lecture. There were 13 men who were present there, and at the end of that, I offered a sign up. 12 of them signed up. By the time I came back the following Tuesday, I think 2 more had dropped out, but we had gained 2 or 3 other men. So it just gives you an idea of the transitoriness and how things can change. But once they're locked in, looks to me like we've got 12 very eager students who are really glad to have us there and are really looking forward to studying. But again, because everything is brand new, those in charge are not sure if we're allowed to have books sent in. So far, I'm teaching the Old Testament survey course without any textbook. Everybody has a Bible, and starting them on the Heidelberg Catechism. Again, we haven't been able to get any books in yet, so we're teaching that without textbooks. Thankfully, we have a small library set up there that has probably 24 Psalter hymnals. So each student was issued a Psalter hymnal, and thankfully the Heidelberg Catechism happens to be in the back of that. So I'm trying to think of creative ways how to teach without any textbook. what assignments to give them in the meantime, since they don't have any reading assignments. So that's what's happening in Indiana. In Illinois, on the Illinois side, there's really only one prison that we're operating in, and that's in Danville. And that's probably our strongest campus. That's where we started. We have at least 50 students there. We've been notified that we can start classes again August 23. So the other two professors, Nathan Brummel and Paul Ipema, are going to be starting then. We also have a full-time volunteer, John Hamstra, who teaches some of the Spanish classes. They will be starting August 23, although we've been notified that we can start doing chapel services. So we'll do 2 Sunday chapel services in the month of July, and then we'll continue that into August as well. There's one other prison in Illinois, and that's Stateville. We have kind of an affiliate with one of the Orthodox Presbyterian churches in the area who have a man who is full-time to be engaged in prison ministry. So we somewhat affiliate with them in that work, or participate with them.
Ken, as we close, just do you have any prayer requests specifically that the churches can remember?
Sure. I mentioned the Indiana State Prison in Michigan City. They remain on lockdown, not because of COVID so much, but back in February, one of the inmates stabbed one of the guards, actually 2 guards, in an attack, and one of the guards eventually died from his wounds. So they've locked down the facility. These men, including our students, have been locked in their cells. Most of their cells are probably maybe 7 feet by 7 feet at most. They get out maybe 15 minutes a day. So those of you who know something about being restricted because of COVID, this is a major restriction. Yes, these men have committed crimes, but they're still human beings who need time and space, and would like to get out. But I think they're allowed maybe 15 to 20 minutes a day out of their cells, probably long enough to take a shower, and then they get locked up again. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we're not sure how long that lockup is going to last. Pray for the staff there, pray for the inmates, but especially pray for our students. I have heard from the chaplains there that there are a number of inmates who had not been students before, who have heard about our program and are indicating a great interest in being part of our program once we open up there again. Pray for, I mentioned some of the issues in Westville that are unresolved right now. Pray that God's will would be done in his leading. And if he wants me to teach without textbooks, give me the wisdom and the insight how to do that, or that there would be textbooks supplied. That would be another prayer request. And I would just, pray concerning some of the other things that I mentioned, that men and women who really want to know God would be brought to us. And for those who are maybe indifferent, that God's Spirit would so work in them, and that we would see a reformation and a revival even within the prison system in Indiana and Illinois through the instruction that's coming through Divine Hope.
Well, Ken, thanks so much. We will remember to pray. And for those of you who are listening, feel free to share this video with your churches. I've heard from churches, they're showing them in catechism classes. Christian schools are showing them in elementary school, high schools. So I really pray that the word gets out, and that we will continue. And I pray that we will, as a church, really uphold you guys in prayer, the 3 of you. Thank you so much for coming on today. Yeah,
let me just say from our students, their question oftentimes is, how is it that we can come in as often as we do, and how is it that we can be doing this full time? And when we tell them about the churches that are supportive of our ministry and how it is that we're funded and how it is that we're governed, these students are just amazed. And they tell us, whenever you have the opportunity, be sure to tell the supporting churches and those who are supporting this ministry just how grateful we are for the support. Thank you so much, Ken. That's good to hear. I'm sure everyone who
who has been supporting you all these years. It's good to get feedback from the field, and we're so thankful.
All right. Well,
God's
thank you.
says, take care.